If you only watch one video about communication this year, let it be this one. Not because I'm gonna give you the perfect script or magic phrases, but because communication is the foundation of all the relationships you will have in your life, whether it's friendships, romantic relationships, or even the relationship with yourself. Because communication is not just about talking. It's about believing that what you have to say is real and deserves to be heard and respected. Because once that belief starts to crack, everything else follows. A lot of relationships don't end in a fight. They end slowly because of things that were never said. You tell yourself it's not a big deal. You brush things off when you feel hurt. You don't want to create tension. But after a while, not only does this protect the other person from whatever you were feeling, but you start losing clarity over how you feel and how you perceive your emotions. You start teaching yourself that your inner world doesn't matter. And one of the most dangerous things about poor communication is self-doubt. You stop believing that what you feel is valid. You start looking for external approval to affirm how you feel, to tell yourself that what you feel is okay, because you don't feel sovereign about how you feel anymore. And this is where communication stops being a relationship issue and starts becoming an identity issue. Here's something people don't talk about from a psychological perspective. When you suppress your own feelings, your brain stops seeing them as reliable information anymore. From a neuroscience standpoint, emotions are data. They are a way to guide behaviors and decision making. So when you ignore them repeatedly, you weaken your trust in your inner feedback system. And that's not harmless, because when you stop trusting yourself, somebody will gladly take that role from you. And that's when manipulation comes in. When you stop trusting yourself, you subconsciously give power away. And you start trusting somebody's interpretation of reality more than yours. You tell yourself it wasn't that bad. You tell yourself that you're overreacting and that you should just let it go. And this is why people who struggle with communication are more likely to be manipulated and are more emotionally vulnerable, because they are not confident in expressing how they truly feel and how they truly perceive the world. Because that's what it's about. It's about being able to communicate your reality. Because when you stay quiet about your perceptions of the world, somebody will impose their own on you. And that can happen in friendships as much as romantic relationships, especially if you're empathetic, especially if you're self-aware, especially if you are good at understanding more than being understood. Now, let's talk about the other side of communication, being there for other people. Because I see this a lot. People freeze when they don't know what to say, when the other person is distressed or in a painful situation, or they give advice too quickly and it ends up being all clumsy and hurting the person more than helping out. But the truth is, most people, when they're distressed, they do not need a solution. They need reassurance. Psychologically, humans don't need rational evidence and solutions when they're in a bad place. They need to be emotionally held. They need to feel safe. They need to feel like another human being sees them and tells them that it's gonna be okay. And they can think of the solution afterwards, but in the moment, they just need to feel the emotion. So that means listening to them instead of interrupting. Stop trying to fix it, and don't let your ego get in the way. They don't care about your big achievements. They don't care how strong you are and everything you've been through. They just need to be heard and seen. There's also something very challenging that comes a lot in close relationships, and people don't really talk about this. It's when something bad is happening to someone for a short period of time, but something really good is happening for you, and it's really hard to balance them both. to be there for them, but at the same time, be happy for yourself, for what you're achieving. And it's the same the other way around. If something really great is happening for them and something really bad is happening to you, well, you need to be able to be happy for them too, even if you're not feeling great in the moment, because that's what real friendship is about. It's being there for the person no matter what, in the good and the bad. And it's the same with romantic relationships. And sometimes your ego gets in the way. Sometimes you tell yourself, why is my life so bad right now? And how is it that they have it all? Well, that's just how it is. And you have to get through the hard patch, and you have to let them grow and watch them be happy and be happy with them. Because life is all about seasons. Okay, what happens to you right now will evolve. And what happens to them will evolve as well. And you'll have some bad moments, some good moments. But what happens is the choices you make now. Now I'm going to teach you how to be a better communicator, give you some actual tips that you can implement in your relationships. Number one, you need to name how you feel. Not what the other person did, how you feel. I felt overwhelmed when this happened. I felt hurt when you said those things. This is the first step, and you need to actually not blame the other person. This is fundamental. Do not blame, just exteriorize your own emotion. Number two, and this links back to the first one, but you need to speak about your own experience. So this is about how you experienced a situation. And it doesn't mean that your feelings are not valid. It just means that someone else had another experience and it matters just as much. Number three, you cannot be perfectly understood all the time. So you can do your best, but if the other person doesn't understand everything, it's not your fault. So if you did everything right and the other person gets mad, it's not that you did something wrong. So you have to remember this. The reaction doesn't suppress the action. And it doesn't mean that the action was wrong if the reaction is disproportionate. But this comes with practice. So you need to practice with your friendships, with all your friendships, even if it's not someone you're particularly close to, and something they did bothers you, and you just say, well, it's just not worth the trouble. It's a great way to practice. Mastering communication does not mean that you become harsh, does not mean that you start monopolizing the conversation and that you're the only one who speaks. Good communication and being able to speak in a way that is understood by the other person, in a way that is efficient, is also about being a great listener, because that's how a conversation works. It's between two people. You cannot do a monologue. And for that, you need to listen to the other person. Because sometimes what you're going to say is not going to land in the way that it should. So in order to understand how you can make it land properly, you have to listen. Good communication just comes down to being calm, empathetic, but unapologetic about how you feel and about what you want to say. If you want deep and healthy friendships with your friends and your partner, this is the work you have to do. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments what other themes you would like me to talk about, and I will see you in the next video.